Jean Aspen.
And I'm Tom Irons.
For a quarter century, we have made our home in the remote Brooks Range of Alaska. Building with whimsy and fantasy, we are artists. And at this point in our lives, we are now choosing to rewild our wilderness home and return it to the wilderness.
For 26 years, Jeannie and I have spun our dream here in Alaska's remote Brooks Range wilderness, where we played and we lived with the animals, where we enjoyed nature in its wild beauty. We have now chosen to end that dream before the dream ends us.
Our son Luke was 4 the first time we stepped onto this bench together. I had a dream of sharing this life with Tom and Luke because I had lived this life myself, both as a small child and later as a young adult. And I'd built a cabin in this valley when I was in my early 20s. So we took a canoe trip and we traveled the whole summer downriver and got to see my old cabin and talk about what it would look like for us to live here. But what really called us was one particular place. I don't think we'd even entered the conversation about coming here ourselves as a family until we stepped onto this bench. And it was almost as if the future was calling to us, as if we had always been here. I think that that was such a magical moment for each of us. Luke and Tom sat down by our campfire and built a little tiny log cabin out of sticks. And we walked around on this bench and said, wow, there's dead standing trees here, and it's dry, and there's this beautiful creek, and this is where we could spend a year. Well, it turned out to be 25.
We spent 2 years after returning to Tucson trying to raise interest and money to come back and do our dream. Money wasn't forthcoming. We had to commit. We sat down one evening right after Christmas of 1991 and asked ourselves, were we really going to do this adventure, or was it just a pipe dream? And we decided to make that commitment.
We didn't have money because we were artists. We lived with very little, but we made most of the things we needed, and it took us a couple of years to put our outfit together before we returned. After we had committed, we found someone to come with us. We had wanted to have a third adult for safety's sake. Lori was the daughter of a friend, and she hadn't camped before. It would seem to be an unlikely match, but she was enthusiastic. She wanted to do this adventure.
Who's Laurie? The young city girl that came with us in 1992 to build Kernwood. Oh my goodness.
When I heard about it, when my mom was telling me that you had invited her to be a part of this and it wasn't the right time in her life, I remember hearing about that, and I just knew I was going to be going. I was hearing her talk about it, and I thought, it's not the right time for her. I'm going to go. And so when I called you all up and said that I'd like to if you still needed someone, and I love that you said, well, come down and spend the weekend and make sure we're compatible. And I thought, okay, but I'm going. I mean, I just knew.
I'm standing here on a rainy day in Kernwood. It's been a big part of our lives. Life is a creation. If you're waiting for it to turn out, it doesn't. It just keeps going. So we chose our own challenges, and I've never regretted that. I was 42, Tom was 46. He's 4 years older than I am. Luke was 6. And the 4 of us set off for a year alone of trying to make it, not knowing and not having any backup. There was no one to come and check on us. There was no way out if we got into trouble.
Yeah.